I had one problem with the whole tournament, and that was the thing that I was predicted last every single game. The last game I was predicted third because he tried to caster curse me. I think it's time to look if Chris Bizzle is able to play under pressure, and because of that I'm gonna pick him.
So the man himself, stepping out from behind the curtain.
Here's the thing between Gino and I. Gino has the advantage of playing
Being a better player.
Holly, how'd you feel about joining Group 1?
I'm happy. Take me, please.
Would you perhaps maybe want to pick Roaming Boar?
I like that name. I would.
When I got to Elite League, I went on a tear through Halai and through Gino. And for the longest time, I've been like, was Halai Khan Throw in that game? I want to see if I can beat him in an actual match. With that, I'm going with Halai.
I find it quite rich that Chris is bringing up Halai's arena play in a specific game because, of course, Halai is the current arena reigning champ.
I take Roaming Boar. I don't know him. I like the name. You asked me to. I can't change my mind now.
Welcome all to Group F of the Fire 2 Open. We are actually good to go here, and I'm very excited for this game. I'm Ranior or Ryan, and I have with me here DeepFinesse.
Hey everyone.
All right.
So this is the last of the division starters, I suppose. And then this will decide the winner to go into the division finals for the ice group. And also, two people, I believe, will get a chance. It's very likely that two people will get a chance to go into the second chance game here, since we do have an extra slot open. And that is a lot to play for.
Yeah. This is a really strong group overall. There's a lot of players I'm excited to watch their games here today. So yeah, this should be a great time. All right, so we are starting our player intros here with Gino, who is our reigning Fire 2 Open champ, as it says. He is apparently a former top-level Catan player, which I didn't know. Yeah, Gino won the last Fire 2 Open. He's a very strong player. I don't think he's actually lost a game in Fire 2 Open yet, so it'll be interesting watching him. Yeah, Gino is apparently an abysmal Witches player, according to this too. I don't think that's actually true, but what are your thoughts, Peter?
Well, I don't think I've ever played Gino before, but I think it's an interesting thing to put that on your profile when you know that everyone else is going to see it and they might put witches into the mix. So it might be like a reverse psychology thing where he wants people to put witches into the bidding. We don't. It's hard to tell at this moment.
It's also possible Chris did that, but it does look like his good factions are cultists, engineers, and mermaids, which are all some stuff that works well on the base map and we might see well. And yeah, I look forward to seeing if Gino can continue his streak of just never losing a Fire 2 game.
Okay, we have Bizzle up next, I believe, who's a little... there we have Bizzle. So Bizzle is the founder of the Fire 2 Open. This is the third season, I believe, that he's running, and he's doing this really all by himself, like 80-90% of it, which is why we see him running around a bit. But he is ready to go. He has a couple of tricks up his sleeve that he's shared with us, and hopefully we'll get to see him put them into action.
Yeah, as this notes a little, he has a bit of a retaliatory playstyle, which some of us know when we play with him. If you mess with his hexes, you have to be a little worried that he's going to hit back even harder. He does like to claim he's the best Giants player, which is clearly shown here. Him and NerdCube have some fun back and forth on that. And we do see Giants on his list of favorite factions, along with Cultists and Darklings, so... it's fun. But yeah, Chris is running both the production and playing, so it's fun. But yeah, it'll be interesting seeing him finally play here today.
And then next up we have Halai, who won the previous arena season, very strong player. I believe in the last arena season, Nerdcube was sitting at like, was it 1800 or 1900, like 1950s maybe? And Halai went on like a last minute run and caught Nerdcube in a like direct showdown game towards the end. He's also won the Agricola World Championship. Well, got third place in the Agricola World Championship before. So really a veteran in all style of Euro games.
Yeah, he's an extremely strong player. I personally think he's the strongest player in this group. He plays a lot on Snellman as well. He just has an incredible amount of experience, like over 1,500 games between those platforms. He has a pretty economy-focused playstyle as well, which is exciting. And we do see both like Witches and Cultists, which can play very high economy games, and then just Darklings, which are super flexible as some of his favorite factions. And yeah, I think Lumen actually met Halai at the Agricola World Championships one year. So yeah, it's a cool little Terra Mystica Agricola crossover for some of us. And finally here we have Running Bear, who is going to go by a Roaming Boar on BGA. So that's, if you see that, that's just the difference. He's recently made it up to TM Tour D3, and yeah, I don't know as much about him because he's played not that many games on BGA and not a ton on Snellman, so he has less experience than a lot of these players, but it'll be interesting watching him face off against them today.
I like the self-claimed aggressive playstyle here a lot, since, as you mentioned, he's somewhat of a lesser-known player on BGA. That adding the self-claimed aggressive playstyle that might cause some players to get out of his way and allow him some more room to expand in the early stages.
Yeah, and I don't know what the owner of the loudest chair in Canada is about, but I'm very intrigued by that. I don't remember if that's a callback to the selection thing.
I believe it was in the last Saturday game where there was some amount of squeaking going on during the commentary.
Yep, yeah. So, but yeah, the aggressive playstyle will be interesting to see if that, if him and Bizzle wind up like just killing each other with some aggressive moves or not. So, otherwise we see Witches, Dwarves, and Darklings. So a lot of Witches and Darklings amongst the favorite factions amongst this group. So it'll be interesting to see if anybody puts them in. Yep. All right, we'll get the game going pretty shortly here, which will be exciting. What are some of your thoughts on what we're likely to see today, or who's your favorite for this game?
Well, one thing I like to see today, and I think has been a recurring theme in our past couple of games in the tournament, are sandwich factions and heavily sandwich factions, where we have 4 colors all in a row. And I think that leads to very intense games, very, very aggressive and very violent to some degree, where people are taking away other people's hexes and hexes are just vanishing at an alarming rate. So that is definitely something I like to see to add some excitement to the game.
Yeah, interesting. That is where you and I very much differ. I don't like that, but I think it's a little bit... It seems you've primarily learned the game through the auction world, and I think I'm a little too used and stuck to the ways of picking in player order still from the Dark Ages, so...
Yes. Well, I grew up playing the game in random faction selection style. So it's really a friend group, and we just have 4 random factions flip out, which makes it pretty reasonably likely that we have 4 colors that are just all neighbors to each other. And no sense of balance, but just for fun and giggles.
Yeah, that's very enlightening. That does make some sense to me why you're more comfortable with some of those games, where some of us that are used to Snellman picking in turn order are much more used to the friendlier color wheels.
Yes, I've never actually played that style before, but if you play on the Snellman platform, basically each player picks their faction in order, right? And there is like a justice starting VP. So basically heavily
Yeah,
incentivized not to become neighbors with anyone that's previously picked before. Okay, so
All
I
right.
think we're about to start.
Indeed, we do have the game pulled up, and we'll start talking about it. Roaming Boar is first to pick. I'm gonna tend to call him Roaming Boar today instead of Running Bear, but either is fine.
Ro-
And then we have Bizzle and Halai, and then Gino's picking last. So
So roaming boar put dwarves into the auction. I think that's a good choice. I think he does prefer this action quite a bit, this faction quite a bit. We see that he won his qualifier game on the back of dwarves and tunneling at the end, like basically just scoring free VPs without any way of being disrupted by the opponents.
yeah. Um, So yeah, it's gonna be. I think dwarves make some sense here. Looking at the actual setup now, we do have round one towns, which most players are not like. That's very rare to hit. And then we go into trading post temples. Digging round four can be a big thing for a lot of factions, and then we have big buildings, and we end with dwellings. It's a reasonably okay track for like scoring off of economy and stuff. So I think we're gonna see some players go for that. Um, and then on the pass tiles, we're missing ship scoring and big building scoring, as well as temp shipping. So it's a little harder to get around the map, and there's a little less incentive to build your big buildings early or go for shipping early. So all of those reasons do mean that I think dwarves do fit this track pretty well. They love the earth cult bonuses. They love to have cult workers towards the end. They like to build their stronghold and do tunnels right at the end. So yeah, it looks pretty good for dwarves as long as the color wheel holds.
On the track that you just talked about, Ryan, I recently heard, I actually only recently learned that some people prefer, like, it might be the expert method to read the track backwards, like starting from day 6 and going backwards. Is that something you routinely do?
Yes and no. I mean, I do think paying attention to the later rounds is important because that's where most of your points are going to come from. So yes, I do agree that focusing on round 6, 5, and 4 tell you a lot more about what you're trying to build your game toward and how you're going to leverage scoring. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, the other thing that matters a lot then too, I think, is to read the economy of the game, obviously. And so we
Mm-hmm.
have so many coins coming off the cult tracks in round 3 and 4 for the cult rewards, and there's also all the coin pass tiles basically. So there's tons of coins in this game, which is interesting. There's very little power on the pass tiles, and there's no power on the cult rewards. So any faction that makes their own power pretty well
Mm-hmm.
actually has a bit of an advantage here too, because the power action should be a little less contested than normal. We see,
And in second seat, Bizzo puts
yeah, go ahead.
Fakirs into the auction. Yes, well, before the game, Bizzo shared a little strategy of his. It seems like Halflings is one of the strongest factions, and he was planning to throw Halflings into the auction no matter what. I'm not sure what stayed his hand here. It could be the digging in round 4, and he's afraid that everyone will heavily contest bidding on Halflings, that he's not as. He doesn't think that he has as much of an advantage when Halflings has such a clear scoring plan in this game.
Yeah, I agree. I thought for sure he was going to throw halflings in, but he must have. He must be a little scared that they're actually good. So then he threw in fakirs, which is another exciting faction. Without landscapes, base fakirs are a little tough, but they do have the spade, which they love. There's lots of coins, which they like. They could get a cult spade or two early potentially too. So I think fakirs could have a reasonable game here. My big concern is that it does look like the kind of later part of the game could allow for almost too much economy. So I don't know. We'll see how fakirs go. In third seat, we have Halai throwing in cultist. What are your thoughts on that?
So that makes me very scared of the Fakirs now. I think, as you mentioned, that there's no landscapes in this game, so Fakirs is already playing at perhaps a 10, 15 point disadvantage. And now with cultists in the game, the yellows are going to vanish pretty easily. And I'm not sure if Akira's really has any sort of game plan that doesn't rely on the opponents being kind to them.
I do agree that things already look pretty rough for Fakirs. The dwarves even take 1 or 2 reds potentially that Fakirs would like, or there's a slight battle for them, which, yeah, I don't think that'll be a huge factor. So we'll see what the full color wheel looks like in a sec, but that cultist pick, I agree, I think is going to make Fakir's life a lot harder. I think cultists here are also quite good, though. You have a lot of spades you can leverage early. You get a lot of coins off the cult track. That makes cultist economy really strong. Um, I'm not totally sure though. Digging cultists can be a game plan sometimes, but you often need a bunch of workers from the cults. So the workers come at the wrong time to like really heavily abuse the digging round. So I'll be curious exactly how somebody chooses to play cultists here.
So speaking of digging cultists, what about digging doors? Like, what do you think about that game plan?
So I think digging dwarves can occasionally work, but you need so many workers. You already want a ton of workers as dwarves just to get your tunneling ability going, and so then to have enough workers to also upgrade digging and build even more stuff is a bit tough. The main advantage, in my opinion, for digging dwarves is that you can completely skip like building trading posts in the game, and you just dig a bunch right at the end. But the 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 tough part with that is like then you can't contest network as well, and so the question is, do dwarves like want to not contest network here? And now that we have a full color wheel, I think the answer to that's very clearly no. I think dwarves should contest network because our final faction is mermaids. So you don't get your wish for a ugly color wheel, and this is more my realm of kind of somewhat standard color wheels.
Yes, very, very standard with the 4 factions all went apart except for Fakir's and Cultist's neighbors. And we see that roaming boar has been on started the bidding on mermaids. Is that what you think is the strongest faction here?
Mermaids without color neighbors are tempting, but the cult track isn't like great for mermaids. I think mermaids are probably the right pick, although I'm not convinced that dwarves aren't the best pick here. I still haven't fully been able to figure it all out, right? Like one of the tricky parts about bidding is it's a little hard to tell right off the bat how everything's going to resolve. But I mean, mermaids get to start with the spade, which has to be pretty good.
Also, protection,
So
if we could get bonus tiles back on the right-hand side, that'd be great.
Yeah. The bonus tiles will show up, but yeah. I think mermaids are probably the best. Dwarves, I think, are quite strong, though, too. Basically, both the factions that don't have color neighbors seem good. I think cultists are still going to be playable here. I think it's mostly bidding to avoid fakirs is what we're going to see.
Is there a situation where Fakirs is 30 victory points worse than the strongest faction? I think it might be close.
I think it's not, but I agree with your analysis that it's close. I suspect we might see mermaids or dwarves get down into towards the single digits before somebody takes fakirs. One of the interesting things I had thought about too, with Halai putting in cultist, it does prevent anybody from putting in halflings. And one of the things that Chris had looked up in all of his research that he let us know is that Halai's weakest faction did appear to be halflings. So that was part of Chris's secret weapon to try to beat Halai, and now it didn't happen. So
yes, we see that Chris has done a lot of research. He has put a lot of thought into this game, not just on the memes part, but also in the actual strategy part.
Yeah. So I think one of the big decisions this game for cultists is going to be their starting spots. The more I look at it, I think that's what I'm struggling the most with. So production, if you want to throw up some hex values for us. Cultists can start double east here because without any black in the game, they can have this kind of really quick early expansion. The downside to starting double east is you tend to run out of room very quickly. You just get 2 towns and then you kind of get cut off. So I'm curious on your thoughts about where you think cultists should start in this game or will.
Yeah, so you're talking about the F5 and F7 start. Because door start is basically set. It's E7 and F6. And then mermaid start is pretty much set to, like D5, E4. Maybe there's a chance for H4 start. And then Fakir set might be reasonably like set in stone too with D3 and F3. So really, it's down to Kotis making the decision of whether they want E6 or not. I I'm not sure about I'm not sure if I like E6. The problem is the town there is very difficult to form, and since Doors is going to go after the D4 hex and also the F4 hex, once these are gone, basically you have a tempo there and it's just stranded. So I think I'm liking the double E start, and the plan will probably be just to give up network, since we have three other factions fairly focused on expansions in the mix.
So that's really a lot of that's interesting to me. See, I think Double East is almost always a trap, but I think it's a trap here. I think the track shows you to build a bunch of dwellings late. As cultist, I think there's a lot of economy here for you. I think you can contest network, and I think starting Double East is wrong. I think you do start center at E6. I think you get a lot of leech there, and you just never make a town. That's fine. You just have a temple that just sits there for the game, and you expand to the north and try to make a town there. You still make a town in the east. Depending on how fast you expand, you still potentially could just make 2 towns in the east this game. You just have to ship around to the other one.
There is danger in expanding in the north, right? Since Fakirs are probably going to get to B2 before you, so your expansion options would be maybe hop through B3, get to A7, and then maybe try to steal B4 before Fakirs gets to it, which puts a lot of pressure on your game plan. It's you have to thread the needle pretty tightly.
Yeah. Basically, I don't know. I agree. It is tricky if cultists go center because you have to prioritize your expansion, and there, as I said earlier, there is no temp shipping or ship scoring, so there is some sadness in investing a bunch into shipping and not fully getting to leverage it. But I think if cultists completely abandon the East, I think Fakirs actually have a pretty good game, and I still think cultists are going to regret it at the end. But I think it is one of the biggest. I think it's one of the biggest and most interesting decisions about the start of this game is where cultists are going to choose to go. Looping back to the mermaid
and
starting.
Also,
yeah, go ahead. No.
So the cultist starting position that's also going to affect Fakir's game very significantly, whether they start E6 or not. Which if I were bidding, it made me very wary of bidding Fakir's because that sort of leaves my fate to some degree on the decision of where cultists plan to start.
Yeah. So I think the other big decision this game is going to be what faction or factions do not want Earth 1. This kind of looks like a game where, since there is so many coins and stuff coming off the cult track, that you might just want to go Earth 1 because economy is fairly achievable, and so points are going to be very valued. Plus, you're going to build lots of dwellings late anyhow, so getting to score those for lots of points is nice. And I've been trying to think, but I think most factions here I would go for Earth 1. It's just how much would I rush it? I think I still take Double Dig if I'm allowed to, but I really don't know for sure how it's going to play out on that front either. I do think dwarves want to get that Earth cult spade, so sometimes they take Earth 2 just because it comes with a cult dig. But I think dwarves' most likely starting tile is going to be the 4 coins and a cult step, in which case they still can take Earth 1 and still get that cult dig. So.
Earth 1 does become a lot more important than these, I guess we might call them open color wheel games, when everyone's spread out, there's not a lot of neighbors, and so everyone's going to play a very heavily expanding game and build a lot of structures onto the board. And so there's a lot of room for Earth 1 to score 20 points, 22 or more.
Yeah. And I think that's absolutely true. So I think we might see a little bit of an Earth 1 rush. One of the other things that's really interesting to me is Gino has been down Cultist to 20. We're all at 20s here. I think Mermaids and Dwarves being tied makes a good amount of sense to me. I'm a bit surprised that these guys are valuing Cultists this heavily. What do you think some of the reasons for that might be?
Well, it's a little hard to tell without knowing where Gino's planning to start with cultists. Like E6 doesn't seem all that nice because you mentioned like we're giving up a town there, whereas the double E starts like there's the other downside that you mentioned that like it's hard to expand, especially towards the end of the game. Is there a chance that Fakir's avoids the fight and just gives up F3? Is there a scenario where this happens and that might affect the cultist evaluation?
Maybe. I think that's really unlikely, though. I think the more I'm looking at it, like both Halai and Gino are bidding cultists still, and maybe it's just partly because with Fakirs in the game, there's a little less fighting on the cult track, and so as cultists, you might still just have really good cult game. But I guess my problem is my plan was to start centers cultists, and then I guess you still start east, so maybe you can get a pretty quick town in the east and you still just get 2 key town and you win a ton of cults and you still maybe have a good enough network. But I don't know. I agree. I think there's a lot of pressures on cultists. I'm not sure I would be bidding them quite as much as Gino and Halai are, but
I think there's also one slight issue with cultists that's a little like it might seem like a small factor, but the fact that there's dwarves and mermaids in the game and they both start at 2 on a single cult track, as opposed to factions like the Cures where they start on 1 step in each cult. And it seems like pretty small, but I find that how it plays out quite often is that dwarves can secure the earth track and mermaid can secure the water track. And that makes it difficult for cultists to win more than 2 tracks compared to, say, if the other starting factions have their initial cult steps spread around.
Yeah. We continue to see Gino and Halai basically saying that cultists are equal to mermaids and dwarves, though, which I still don't think I'm comfortable saying that. But I do agree that all 3 of these factions are worth bidding down, probably even more compared to Fakir's still. I think Fakir's game plan still looks really tough in terms of expanding, getting hexes, even getting towns.
So we have the bonus tiles up on the right, and as you said, mermaids are taking the spade and coins bonus tile. Cultists probably take 3 power. Cultists could also take a priest. Priest seems pretty strong to earth track, and that leaves 3 power and worker for Fakirs and 4 coins single cult step for doors.
Yep, that's my prediction. I don't know which cultist will take between the priest and the worker 3 power. I think both make sense, but I think Fakirs take whichever one, cultist doesn't. And then yes, I agree. I think dwarves are going to take 4 coins and a cult step, which allows dwarves to just open for Earth 1 and still get the cult spade. I'm not sure what that means for double dig, because if everyone rushes Earth 1, then mermaids are just going to get double dig and have the spade. But I think somebody else might just go for double dig and skip Earth 1, but I just don't know who.
Is there a world where Fakirs gets double dig? It seems pretty unlikely, even with the 3 power and worker. But Fakir's double dig would be a very strong start since it makes up for one of their biggest problems. Well, their biggest problem is that they only start with 5 power in the second bowl. So being able to get enough power for double dig would give them a very, very needed boost.
Yeah, that would be great. I don't think so. I think we're going to see. I still think cultists are going to start E6, and I think they're going to put their initial upgrades there. I think dwarves are going to go E7 and put their upgrade. Or they're going to put their temple there because that's probably where their sanctuary might eventually go. And I think mermaids are going to start D5 and also upgrade there. So I think dwarves are going to get quite a bit of early leech. I think both mermaids and cultists are going to do okay. Fakirs usually want to put a temple on D3 because they can make a sanctuary town off of E2, E3 this game. But they'll probably build a second temple in round 3. So I guess maybe they upgrade F3 in round 1 and then they build a Temple later at E or D3, but I still just don't see how Fakirs get enough power, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So you're predicting a leech, like an upgrade train in the middle continent, F3, E6, E7, T5 all along.
Yeah. I think that's what we're going to see. But again, I mean, Cultists could surprise me, and they could just start double East still. So
we're approaching to low 10s. Everyone's at 16 right now. I think we're still a little far away from anyone like giving up and picking Fakirs.
yeah, I continue to think that Fakirs are... I wouldn't take them probably until I get at least 20 points edge, and it might be even a bit more than that. There's a couple of ways the game breaks well for Fakirs, but they're pretty narrow, and I think it's kind of unlikely. So there's still a chance that somebody's going to get lucky by jumping to Fakirs late, and Cultists are going to start double East or something, but I think most ways this game plays out, I think Fakirs are going to really struggle to get enough hexes. I think they're just going to not get network points. They're not going to get cult points. And I just don't see how they have enough points anywhere to compete.
Mm-hmm. The last round dwelling scoring is also not very favorable for Fakirs. Is that right? Like I find that typically Fakirs would like an expansion round, a dwelling scoring round around 4, round 5. A little earlier than the last round.
So I also agree. I think this is a kind of a tricky thing that mediocre players don't always necessarily get. But like Fakirs probably will do a couple carpet flights in the final round, but other players probably can build even more dwellings than Fakirs are going to be able to potentially. And so I think Fakirs actually would love this much more if the track was, Stronghold Sanctuary both round 5 and round 6, because then nobody would have good pass to score points, and that's when Fakir's inherent ability becomes the strongest. They have a great way to inherently make points, but
yeah, I think you make a great point there. Like, we're really looking at the delta of how many dwellings you can build versus your opponents, as opposed to how many dwellings you can build on your own, because ultimately you're comparing your score to the other 3 players. And it doesn't matter if you can build 3 dwellings if they can all build 5.
Yep, exactly. And so even though Fakirs probably will make a few flights, as you note, Fakirs are going to wind up making it... I do think Fakirs might try to delay their town until round 5, potentially, build their sanctuary and make a town. But we would assume normally Fakirs to take a range town at that point in order to get to yellows. But is that going to be too late as well? I mean, that's part of the difficulties for Fakirs here, is that I don't know when they're going to get their range increase before round 5. And if they wait till round 5, that's not a lot of time to leverage it to get onto yellows, especially when the track is kind of telling you, wait, delay those dwellings even further. So it's just a lot of awkwardness for Fakirs, which is why all these guys are bidding for the other factions.
And we do see the cultists continue to go down, as you mentioned. The players, well, at least Halai and Gino, seem to be valuing cultists as basically the same as mermaids and dwarves. Apart from the awkwardness of the middle start, it's like I'm also not seeing the case for cultists. I think they're still weaker than mermaids and dwarves, but the players are. They have a different view on the matter.
I still very much agree with you as well. Both Halai and Jinu are asserting that cultists are exactly equal with the others with their bids, and I don't agree with that. Roaming Boar, I don't believe, has bid on cultist at all. He just keeps jumping between mermaids and dwarves. I think Bizzle also keeps jumping between mermaids and dwarves. Gino and Halai occasionally go mermaids and dwarves, but they're often the ones just kicking each other off of cultists. Appears to be what's been happening. And yeah, we're still just going on that cycle.
So if we go back to the starting positions that we were talking about, we mentioned that dwarves are pretty much scripted. How scripted do you think mermaids and fakirs are? Regarding mermaids going d5, e4 and fakirs going d3, f3.
So I think fakirs pretty much have to go d3, f3. Anything else is just too fancy. The only way that I think that doesn't happen is if for some reason cultists do go double east. I think Fakir should place their first dwelling at D3. They get to see where cultist goes. If cultist doesn't start center, then we could see Fakir start E8 with the intention of flying to E6. Because cultist won't be there. But I think cultist should be at E6. So as for mermaids are really tricky here the more I look at it. Because there's no ship scoring and there's not even temp shipping, that actually makes it a little harder for mermaids to really like get away with a lot here. They don't have super easy path to points, and if they get Earth 1 blocked, I'm not totally sure they can make a great game here either. So I'm not. The more I look at it, I think maybe dwarves should just get bid the most here, but we'll see. But yeah, I think mermaids are supposed to start E4 almost always. It allows you to expand to that upper left stretch of D2, C1, A4 off of just a little bit of shipping, and Fakirs will be a great friend through that region. The second dwelling is usually D5, but H4 is maybe intriguing, so I don't know.
So we have the final bids. I can't quite tell who jumped over to Fakirs. I think it's Roaming Boar.
Indeed, it is.
And we have Bizzo on Dwarves, Halai on Cultists, and Gino on Mermaids.
Yeah. And production, you could turn the hexes off for a bit, and yeah, you probably have to do a little bit of manipulation here now that the BGA overlay changed. But you'll get it up here in a sec. But yeah, so we have Roaming Boar at 30 on Fakirs, Bizzle on Dwarves for 14, Halai on Cultists for 13, and Gino on Mermaids for 13. So what are your thoughts out of the auction here?
I agree with the Dwarves point. I think Dwarves they got the best deal out of the auction. And then, as you mentioned, mermaids don't have the temp ship, which is a huge boon for their scoring. They also have like the two sort of wasted steps on the water coat. So a couple of factors, and then there's also the danger of getting Earthman blocked, which we'll find out pretty soon if that happens. But just a couple of factors are on the game that tilt the balance away from mermaids and I think towards doors with all the coat rewards on the Earth track, and also. With I guess mostly the coat rewards on Earth track, and also like the favorable scoring towards the end, getting their strongholds out on round 5 and getting more tunnelings down on round 6.
Yeah. Overall, I think dwarves have actually a pretty great deal here the more I look at it. I think dwarves have good early leech. I think they get good early spades. I think they have great cult economy throughout the game. I think the track fits their game plan. I think they're going to have pretty good network. I think they're going to have okay cults. I think dwarves are in, honestly, a great position the more I look at it. As for cultists, I still think cultists are a bit overbid, but the more I paid attention to mermaids too, I'm not really sure they have great game plans. So the fact they're a bit behind dwarves really worries me. I think Fakirs went for an okay price. I don't really think any of Fakir's mermaids or cultists are necessarily a deal, though. I just think dwarves should be like at least 5 points lower.
Well, Fakirs just got out of cultist's way, so that changes things very drastically. We see that the players have already placed their starting dwellings, and one unscripted move was by Fakirs here going E8, going for the leech party instead of starting at the standard F3.
Yeah, and I think we saw at least one or two of the players react to that, and understandably so. I think Fakirs made a big mistake starting there, but it does put a decent amount of pressure on that red hex, which is next to cultist, mermaids, and dwarves on the center, D4. Fakirs almost have to be trying to fly there, because I don't see what else. I don't see how Fakirs can, like, I don't know. So I would be a little concerned as dwarves about losing that hex.
They could be planning to connect in this game without ever increasing range. Is that possible? Like if you start from the left dwelling, you hop over to the brown, and then you go brown, yellow, red, brown, form a town there, and then hop over to the yellow on B4, and then hop over to the red.
Yeah, I mean, that is an option, and you potentially get 2 towns through some of that, but the early expansion off of this hex is rough. You get slightly better leech, but ugh. I also take it back. I like the cultist bids a hell of a lot more suddenly. If cultist actually gets that center, like cultist might actually get a center town, and that's also a big shift in the game for cultists.
Yes, that changes things like really drastically. Like since cultists have a lot of places that they can dig very easily in the early game, the blacks, the yellows, they can build off dwellings, and then they don't have to upgrade ship until a little later on. And then after they upgrade ship, they have even more hexes they can reach for the round 6 dwelling expansion.
Yeah. Halai, interestingly enough, did take worker power over the priest, so it does look like Halai probably plans to take double dig if he's offered it. I think his hesitation right now is if he upgrades next to dwarves, though, dwarves could take double dig at the start of their next turn, and so it's going to be really an interesting standoff here on like who really wants double dig and what they're willing to do to get it.
The decision will fall to Bizzo, it looks like, since he's going to. The decision will fall first to Bizzo, as he will reach 12 power and bow 2 first, and he can first decide if he wants to forego Earth 1 for the double dig. Do you feel like the Earth 1, like foregoing Earth 1 is a little weaker now that he's got the 4 coins, 1 code step bonus tile? So he's basically at step 3, and Earth 1. Earth 1 is as good as Earth 2 if he wants to secure the extra spade.
Yeah, it's really just how much are you afraid of Fakirs taking that red hex, and how much does it hurt you if they do? I think as dwarves, I probably just I don't know. It's annoying that admittedly Fakir's with the spade here is kind of annoying. I think Fakir's best move might be though to just also take Earth 1 and send their priest to Earth. So if I'm Chris, I think I'm just taking Earth 1, but it's double dig's always very strong, so
I think I like Earth 1, and probably the single spade comes back to you. Oh, well, he's gone for the double dig.
Yep, he is just going to secure his hexes. I think he's about to lose Earth 1. That's a pretty big decision in this game. I still like Dwarves' position. They're going to have a ton of early spades and workers, and that can turn into points, but I don't know if I love it as much as if they just had Earth 1, but...
So we see Fakirs take Earth 1.
Gotcha.
Cultist is probably going to follow up and also take Earth 1. And this will give Bizzo another decision whether to accept less leech or not. So we see that Cultist is at step 2 on Earth. And if Chris accepts this leech, that's going to give Cultist an easy way to get to step 4 with 1 from Earth 1. And, well, actually, Cultist went for the single dig. So Earth 1 is coming back to dwarves. I think this is great for them.
Yeah, I dwarves getting double dig and Earth 1 honestly is incredible. That's wild to me. But
yes, I'm liking dwarves' position the best now by quite a bit. They have all their hexes set up in the middle continent, and they are going to get a lot more leech as Mermaid digs the green, and Cultist probably upgrade in the center, dig the yellow. And they have their town space carved out and some tunnelling hexes within reach. And then after they develop that, they can move on to the right side, the right continent, where no one's going to disrupt them either.
Yeah, the fact that dwarves can also just get that red kind of in the center off of the bottom of their gray hex they dug, that's G2, and Fakirs aren't threatening it, that's huge value for dwarves too. That's a lot of jumps in the late game. They're going to have such good network here. Like, this is an incredible start for dwarves. I think Halai's decision to upgrade in the east and not put his trading post in the center is also looking really questionable given how much leech he would have got here extra in round 1 from dwarves. I don't know why Halai chose to upgrade in the east yet. I guess try to rush an earlier town, but then he dug in the center. So I don't know if I love cultist decisions, but I also, as I was going to mention earlier, I mean, Halai and Gino, in my opinion, are the two strongest players at this table, and they bid a lot for cultist and mermaids. So maybe they have plans and know things that I'm not yet seeing. So
Mhm. Yeah, there was the slight consideration of forcing dwarves to go burn down to 6 power if they wanted to go for a double dig, but I think that's a very, very minor concern compared to like their own self development and getting leech from the center buildings.
yeah, and at this point, cultists lose Earth 1, and their compensation is they got single dig. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't, I don't know about this.
Yes, I'm really, really liking Chris's position here. And as you mentioned, they secured the red hex in the center continent, like basically immediately. They are going to get their code step, get extra spade from the code bonus, and dig it. And then that sets up their center town. And also opens up, as you mentioned, all of the gray hexes on the lower left of the map.
Yeah, it looks like dwarves is just going to get every hex they could ever care about. The only thing that I think could possibly make dwarves lose this game at this point is if they fail to connect. So that G3 green hex is important, but I don't see how mermaids are ever going to threaten that before dwarves just secure it. So
Mm-hmm. Yes, their connection through the upper side is basically gone. Mermaids will probably take the green. Like mermaids will probably take the green one, like either green one before they do, which
and
means that they have to connect through the southern route.
yeah, so as long as dwarves connect, I think Bizzle is well on his way to just winning this game, but we'll see.
There's also the slight possibility that cultists go for the digging route, since there is the digging spade bonus, or even mermaids if like any one faction going for upgrade digging for the digging bonus in round 4 and further disrupting dwarves that way. It's pretty unlikely, but there is a slight chance that cultists might go for it.
Yeah, Cultist going for an upgrade digging line and then messing with a bunch of dwarves hexes, that could be a way to make sure dwarves aren't just going to run away with the game, but yeah, it'll be interesting. Halai does wind up going for Earth 2 here, and he did get the Priest Power action on top of the single dig, so he is going to get 2 Cult Spades. So, I mean, he has a ton of early Cult economy and just a ton of early economy. So Earth 2 does kind of suggest maybe he is angling for that digging game plan in round 4. He's going to have plenty of workers very soon.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he's going to dig a yellow and a black next turn and build 3 more dwellings, probably a trading post. And that will get his economy going very strongly with 6 buildings to round out round 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Dwarves is pretty good in terms of expansion too. They basically have, like as you mentioned, the Dream Start, Temple, 3 dwellings, and Earth 1.
And a cult spade, and now they just got to pass for the spade tile as well. I mean, dwarves are off to just insane start. This is so good.
In this case, do they even dig G2 right now? Because as we talked about, G2 is like the key hex to unlock the lower left of the map. But if they dig the green on the right continent instead, and then with their bonus tile, they can dig the red, and then that unlocks another gray, which lets them go up to 6 dwellings and a temple to end round 2.
I agree. Bizzle is doing some of his antics on player cams right now. I'm not quite sure what he's eating or drinking, but he's definitely tried to assert something here. But yeah, I agree that I think dwarves probably dig the east, as you suggested, just to get more hexes. And then, honestly, if they even have to hard dig in round 3 or something to lock up that other hex, they can survive. I don't like. Dwarves are about to be just off to such a great economic start, such a good scoring setup. Like it's one of those things. Once a faction gets rolling, it can be hard to slow them down because they just have the extra resources to do inefficient things and still survive. So
Yeah. And with stores, they even have this built-in scoring ability that you cannot disrupt. Once they get their dating upgrades, they just turn each, and once they get their stronghold build, they just turn each 2 workers into 4 points, and there's just no way to stop that once we reach that point.
yep. So yeah, out of round 1, I think dwarves have pretty good control of this game. He does choose to just dig the red in the center, which I think that makes enough sense. He has enough spades, it's fine. And just securing it has a lot of value. So I love dwarves' position. Cultists, I'm really intrigued by. If they do pull off this like crazy digging game plan, maybe they're in it. I think mermaids are in a fine spot. I still really question Fakir's starting hex, but they did go double temple, which we didn't talk about. That was an interesting option I didn't necessarily consider. But they did get a cult dig, and they went air 2, earth 1 in round 1. So double temple Fakirs is pretty good economy in terms of priests and stuff. I just don't know about this eastern temple location though.
I find myself pretty scared of double tempo stuff of cures when there are no landscapes. Since like if we're taking Earth 1 with one of the temples and taking another econ favor, like whether it be Air 2 or Earth 2, like we're not able to take Fire 1. And I just find that the coin production is a little hard to come by. And even with a double tempo start, like it's still very tricky to manage the economy without getting all the coins from the landscape.
Yeah, so the upshot for Fakirs here, though, right, is that there's tons of coins on the pass tiles, and there's a lot of coins on the cult track. So I think this is going to work out reasonably well. And the other reason it's going to work so well is because Fakirs they got a cult spade at the end of round 1, and they're going to get this air cult spade because they have the cult step on them. So they're getting pretty good value out of their early cult economy, which is a little rare because Fakirs aren't always known to be that culty because they can't send their priests to cults, or they don't want to because they want to use them for flights. But
yeah, so we're probably going to see Fakir send one more priest to air, and that's turning the 2 priests that Fakirs has invested in cults into a spade each, plus 4 more coins in round 3, plus 3 more coins from the priest itself in round 4. So that is a lot of economy that the Fakirs have.
Yeah, and priests don't even have to send Fakirs don't have to send their priests to air because they have the cult step pass tile. So I mean, they could send their first. They could send the first priest to fire here and just lock up some workers way down the line too, or something.
Yes, that seems really strong. Locking up the 2 extra coins for next round and also the workers towards the end of the line. So we see that mermaids did not spend any of their power last round. They were able to do everything they wanted to do with the single spade bonus tile, build a temple, build 2 dwellings, and they also got the coins the second round to start. So they have a ton of power that they can use as they see fit at the moment. They did open with double spade, and they're going to end this round with a temple and 5 dwellings, a very respectable start for mermaids.
Yeah, I still like mermaids economy, and they have Earth 1. I just think long term, I still am a little hesitant on exactly where all the mermaids points comes from. I think he probably still wants a water 1. But if he gets like a network 3-town game plan, that probably can still be competitive here.
So I think Gino does build another dwelling and trading post this turn to get extra 3 points and set up for the tempo in round 3 and grab that water 1, as you mentioned, since mermaids do need some way to make up on their scoring.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think you're right though. Interestingly enough, Dwarves is going for a trading post this round. Usually Dwarves just want tons of worker economy early, so that's a little bit of an interesting choice. But I guess he thinks he has enough worker production given how many spades he's already gotten, which is probably true.
I think it's consistent with Doors taking G2 as opposed to taking the green on the right continent, because Bizzle started this round with 4 workers, so he could build 3 dwellings or he could build 2 dwellings and upgrade the trading post. He does get 3 extra points for the trading post bonus, and Doors has a stronger first trading post compared to other people.
Yeah, but in a game that's this coin rich, this is one slight mistake from him, I think. I get that it comes with 3 points though, and I guess he's probably building another temple next round to take water 1. So then that whole sequence is probably fine, but I just love having tons of workers as dwarves. He still has a lot of like just jumps he would like to do to get to all those gray hexes and keep expanding his worker income, and it's a little bit harder to achieve all that now.
He could take worker. No, he doesn't have enough. I think what was a little surprising was the location of the trading post to me. Like, he might be going for a town there, but if he's planning to build a second temple next round, it might be a little more flexible to put it on the right, since then he has options for his sanctuary later on.
Yeah, I mean, I think dwarves want to skip Sanctuary this game, though, is the real dream. I don't think they ever want to take a Sanctuary. But we will see. I agree, though. I think I would have upgraded. I think I would have upgraded in the East as well, partly just because I think it was going to get a good amount of leech. I still think dwarves, part of why I was saying that I really wish dwarves had just had more workers is because I think they're about to regret not tunneling fast enough here. I do think we're seeing cultists angling for a digging advanced game is my bet, but we'll see.
They do have a lot of workers. They still have 5 workers right now because of that Earth 2, and they're going to build 2 more dwellings this round. And then, like, maybe a trading post, maybe not, but they're going to produce like 7 workers, 6 to 7 workers next round. And they will be able to, like, if they get their coins, if they have a source of coins, which is not that difficult to do, they'd be able to upgrade digging twice and have like maybe anywhere between 5 to 10 digs to throw around 4.
Yeah. One of the other decisions that was pretty interesting this round, or some of it, is just where the priests wound up. I thought dwarves was going to get the first priest of fire, trying to angle for those workers way down the line. But we see that he just went to earth for a couple more coins, which is fine. Fakirs wound up sending both of their priests off, which they have enough power right now. They could have like flown and single dug if they still had a priest. So I'm not sold on sending all the priests to cults like he did.
Yes, I did think that Priest Air is a little weird once you pointed out that they do have the extra code step, which allows them to secure the spade without sending the Priest Air. I don't see what the Priest Air really does for Fakirs. And it's going to be hard for them to contest the track against cultists, since they really don't want to invest any more resources in the form of priests.
Yep, I definitely agree with that. I mean, he did go double temple, so he admittedly has a lot of priests this game, and he's going to get a bunch of coins for them all, so it can't be that bad, but I mean, he is ending this round with just 2 temples and a dwelling, and now he takes a priest power action. I don't like that. I'm guessing he's going to send it to air and get another spade, but he has nowhere to put the spade, so like, I would not be using my powers Fakirs to take. Well, but he does have air too. I don't know. He needs spades is mostly my thought, and he needs to expand. But I guess he'll figure it out.
Yes, the second spade is a little awkward. Like, their first spade goes very nicely on e2. The second spade, one option would be to disrupt mermaids by taking c1 with the double spade. It's very non-economical on their part, but it does destroy mermaids' expansion options and prospects in upper left.
Overall, I've really warmed up to this Dwarves trading post too. I think he is going to go Temple for Water 1, and I think he probably should this game. And so I think building the trading post this round and just getting some extra points is probably fine. His worker econ is still pretty good, so I think I like him going for the trading post.
Chris also has a ton of leech at this moment. Like, he could build another trading post if he wanted to and form a town immediately, but that does leave him a little worker starved for future rounds.
Yeah, I mean, he could just take a worker town, and I don't think that's a terrible sequence, but I don't think I would do it. Admittedly, he is at a slightly awkward spot here, though. Like, does he want to just, like, maybe even single dig that red hex in the east just so that he's ready to build those? Like, or does he just pass here and take a coins action to start next round? I don't know the answer. The pass tiles are pretty underwhelming for him at the moment.
He could also pass here and take double dig to start. Does he have enough resources to take advantage of the double dig though? Like, if he passes for the 3 power 1 worker, he gets to convert 2 more coins now, so he ends with, well, he did pass, but he passed for another tile. And this to me says he's going for the double dig action to start because he did not he is wasting the production of 1 power.
Yeah, I completely agree. This is a pretty clear sign he's taking double dig, precisely from what you're saying. He has 1 power income that he just can't earn here. And so, I mean, it's possible it's a slight mistake, but I think it's much more likely with how many coins are in the game that he just wants to take double dig. I think he'll dig the red in the east, and I think he is going to then, I think he's immediately going to tunnel, and I think he's just going to secure G3 with the double dig, which I think is really smart. I think just starting to lock in his connection path is what he probably should be doing, because I think that's still like one of the few ways he can lose this game is if he doesn't connect.
Mm-hmm. That gives him 8 coins next round, so he goes for the double dig, and he can build the 2 dwellings, and he can still build the temple. He will be 1 coin short, but like that can be easily addressed.
Yeah, or he just doesn't even build the second dwelling, potentially, on how things go. I mean, he could certainly build 1 dwelling off of the double dig, which is going to be that tunnel to G3, presumably. And then, yeah, he builds his temple for Water 1. Although, does he have to Water 1 first action? Oh, no, he doesn't, because Fakirs are not threatening Water 1 currently. They have no way, or they could, I guess they could Sanctuary, but I think that's, or no, they don't have enough.
Yeah, that's,
they don't have that many workers. Fakirs have no workers. They need to just build dwellings next round, so.
So after...
Wow! Oh my god, I was just about to say, Fakirs went for... Fakirs did
so
go
they
up
did go for the disruption. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sucks for Gino.
Gino does have a very strong economy going as mermaids. He was able to use his power very efficiently. He took 1 double dig and 1 coin action, and now he has a ton of worker production. He still has a spade, and he can build 2 more dwellings this turn pretty easily, and also the temple, and still have enough coins to do stuff next round.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that terrible for mermaids even, but it is a big bummer. It's going to make mermaids' plan of 3 towns a bit harder, but I guess mermaids potentially always have the route of they can sanctuary town where they currently are by taking one of the other black hexes, and then they still could then take that stretch in the upper right of blue, black, green, blue. They're already on one of them they already built, and so they could still get 3 towns anyhow. The bigger issue here is usually Fakirs, you just want mermaids over there. Denying mermaids to join you is kind of questionable because it means so much less leech. Fakirs are essentially getting almost no leech the rest of the game now with what they just did, in my opinion. Nobody's gonna build next to them. So I think it just hurt Fakirs as much as it hurt Mermaids, in my opinion, but I don't know for sure. I would not have done it. I know that much, but players do some fun moves. It's a bit aggressive and interesting, and maybe it's going to pay off. They've already sunk 4 priests into the cults too, which is really interesting.
I think the leech point is pretty important. Like this will hurt mermaids in the sense that mermaids are going to have a hard time later finding places to build trading posts, especially on the upper right where they have no neighbors. Like they were very much like to build on the upper left, and I very much agree with the point that it's just so much leech for Fakirs, and that's going to fuel their expansion a lot. I think mermaids plan this turn. One plan could have been to upgrade shipping and to put their bonus spade on C1 and build 3 dwellings. And now that plan has gone down the drain.
Yeah, I still think this is a bit of a blow to Mermaids. I don't think it's like terrible, but I think Mermaids were already a little on the edge to me in terms of was their game really going to be going smooth enough to win. I think that hurts their long-term network a little bit. Although actually not that much, right? Mermaids can still just ship 3 and get those blues. I mean, Fakir's never going to deny those blues. So maybe it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, it's more the town location. And there's also the timing issue because mermaids could have gone there this turn. Like they just need to upgrade ship and then do the digs.
Yeah.
Do the 1 dig.
Also, an interesting note is that Chris or Bizzle did not double dig to start the round. He did decide to take the coins, which looks like he just lost a slight little bit of power income there. And I wonder if that's a change of plans or if he just mussed up or I don't know what.
Yeah, he could be wanting to keep his options open and responding to what the players are passing over to.
Yeah. I do think leveraging these cult coins off of the round 3 temple event is often a pretty good strategy, and Fakirs has really leveraged that. But he only has 3 priests for the rest of the game in his like supply, which is actually like possibly a slight limitation. I'm not sure. All the players are going to get a decent number of coins this round, and the priests' spalots are already pretty full, which is interesting to note. Everybody's taking. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just saying it's a way to get like double use of sending the priest a code. You get the initial code bonuses, and then you also get the extra 2 coins. And in this game, for the Earth code, you get it 3 times back. So that, as we see, the Earth code is already filled up before round 3 has ended.
Yeah. So I do agree, leverage all that's really good. And so, like, a lot of these players are at least playing into that nicely. Fakirs are getting a decent amount of expansion this round, but I still just have to think this is maybe a little just too late. Like, Fakir's got Water 1 blocked, where the rest of the table rushed Water 1 this round. Fakir's is not going to get to do a lot of digging next round. I just don't see a lot of track points, so I guess Fakir's really are just hoping to get a lot of flights and a lot of dwellings built, and maybe that still can win them a game, but I don't know.
One of their key hexes, the yellow one in the north, the east, has already been taken by cultists. That also locks them out of the yellow one and the furthermost yellow one. So really, yeah, like I also don't see where they are flying to for the rest of the game. It will have to be accompanied by a lot of digging actions, probably.
Yeah. We do see cultists did also, get another temple. They have Water 1. It looks to me that they probably are aiming for a dig round next round still, but I'm not 100% sure. Dwarves went for a town this round, and they went for a worker town. That's okay. I might have been tempted by 2 keys, but I guess dwarves aren't going to get a lot of utility out of that. Yeah. I don't know if I love Bizzle's decisions for the last 2 rounds. He's going to end this round with multiple priest production, still a trading post up, and only like 4-ish dwellings, which is fine, but he could have ended round 2 with like 6 dwellings out or something, and just had that much more worker production and been able to afford so many jumps that he has access to. I think dwarves have made a slightly suboptimal path here, but it's still good enough that he's competitive here. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on like who's winning, who's been doing the best?
I like Bizzle's position a lot more, like before too, when I thought he was going to go for the double dig and just put a lot more dwellings. It is a little awkward that they are going to end around with only 4 dwellings, which limits their worker production. Other than that, I like all of their positions quite a bit. A little down on Fakirs. I think cultists are doing quite fine. They have their town spaces carved out, and they are ready to either upgrade Dig or whatever Halai thinks best for scoring next round. Mermaids also have their town spaces carved out, although they are a little less, like without the upper left, they're a little light on expansion options going forward.
Yeah, I agree. We see Halai already passed with a bunch of workers here, and he's first. I'm almost confident at this point that he's taking coins and advancing dig twice next round and doing a bunch of digging, which I think is about to kill Dwarves' game even more. Dwarves also just decided to do a move that I really am question. Like he just built another trading post. I get that he has the trading post pass tile, but I really think he needs worker production. I think he really needs to be securing these advances or these tunnels while he can. I think he's at risk of losing several gray hexes and possibly his connection hex to Halai here this next round, and I think that's gonna. I think that could knock the dwarves right out of this, and honestly, it could knock the cultists right back into maybe winning. Halai's path I originally questioned a bit by taking single dig round 1 and upgrading where he did and passing on Earth 1, but he's doing some cool stuff as he always does. So
I think Doors have to tunnel here. They have to spend their priest on tunneling. They have and probably take the Grey Hex under cultists on the Eastern Continent.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they just don't have workers. they just have no more. It's not a great. It's not great when Doors in a turn with only 2 dwellings on the board. 3 workers per turn is just not enough with their game plan.
Yeah, and he could tunnel here, but turning the priest, and he does just send it to the cult. I was going to say, like, not sending the priest to the cult here when it gives back coins and later a worker is so painful, but he can't tunnel now. Like, that trading post he built was quite wrong. The center town I was a little questioning on, but I think it was okay. I think that second trading post here this round, it was way too greedy. He could have tunneled and had out another dwelling. So he said instead of having 2 more worker production, he wants to have 2 coins and a power and 2 points on the pass this round. 2 worker production for dwarves is just so obviously better than 2 coins of power and a couple of points. So I think that was a real missed opportunity here from dwarves.
Well, you're not gonna like this then, because Dwarves just put up their 3rd trading post.
Yeah, I mean, this is a little bit, I think, of dwarves throwing away the game. This is really a bit sad to watch. I mean, I'll be a hot take here. Like, I literally think dwarves are losing the game in front of our eyes. I said for a while that I thought the only way they would lose this game is if they failed to connect. Well, the other way they lose this game is if they completely misplay their economy. We've been saying repeatedly this is a game that is rich in coins, and it is rich in coins. There's so many coins that dwarves just passed for a worker and 3 power instead of 6 coins. They're generating an insane amount of coins, and they just have no workers. And the way dwarves score point is through workers. So I really don't like what dwarves have done here, but I mean, mermaids got cut off a little bit from their preferred expansion, so fakirs I'm still a little on edge with, but they have an okay-ish economy going.
So we see digging cultist incoming. They can afford to spend all their coins upgrading dig and upgrading a ship, and then they can threaten everyone's hexes all around the map. with no fear, because next round they also have another influx of coins from the code track.
I love Cultist position. He is going to advance dig twice. I think he will advance ship once, and I think he's about to further kill dwarves. This is part of why I don't like dwarves' position. I think dwarves somewhat misread what cultists were up to, and I think he might be surprised at what cultists are about to do here.
Yes, yes. Although taking the coins last round, like initially I thought that might have been a block on someone else, like maybe Cultist, because maybe he saw the plan of Cultist upgrading dig and wanted to block their coins. But after Doors built all those trading posts, it just seems like Chris might have misread his own position here.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out, but I do think Bizzle's Dwarves game is in a tight spot. He just doesn't have good workers to build his stronghold in round 5 either. He doesn't have that many priests on the fire track, so he doesn't have that many workers locked up in the cults. Basically, I think Dwarf's game is about to suffer because, he just doesn't have enough workers. He wants so many workers right now to score points off of tunnels. He has literally 6 gray hexes in range right now, and he's going to be able to build on like 1 or 2 of them this round. No, he has 7 grays in range. 7 gray hexes he could tunnel to, and just not even going to be able to leverage many of them yet. I think that's a real problem. Fakirs are doing the kind of jumping around where they might connect off of only 1 range, as you predicted long ago, so great call there, Peter.
I tend to find that plan to be pretty strong, like not having to take the range town. But like, how often do you think that works on the base map, since it's designed with all of the yellows basically 2 spots apart?
Yeah. I think that's a great call. So we do see Mermaid, like, cultists this game are admittedly not getting away with a super high cult game because they chose to. The one downside of their digging plan is that they weren't able to send that many priests to cults, and the other factions have built a lot of temples and have sent a lot of priests to the cults. So cultists, like, the cult tracks are Mermaid, like, these factions are actually looking like they're going to split the cult points fairly evenly here. So
I think that's actually a pretty good read by Halai in a sense, because like looking at the round 3 rewards, priest for 2 coins on the cult, Halai sees that all the other players are going to see that, and they're going to want to send priests. So Halai takes a different route and doesn't like compete with them in that axis, and instead goes along the upgrade dig.
So the fact that Dwarves just got double dig here is nice, and he's going to get his worker production going a bit, but I still think it's just too little too late. He wants to build so many dwellings, and he has so many jumps to do, and he just doesn't have the workers to achieve it. And if I'm Halai, and I think Dwarves are a threat, I'm just going to kill his connection. Like, he literally can't connect this game if I just bomb one of his gray hexes. And so whatever that gray hex is, kind of down at the bottom, right between the brown and the black, that could be 3rd town for Halai if he just triple digs it. And I think that's what we're going to see. My prediction is that that's like I-10 roughly.
Yes.
I think Halai just bombs that, kills Dwarves connection, and secures himself 3 town space this round. But we'll see.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, Halai is, especially, I think the tunnel over from Bizzle was a mistake, because like he can obviously see that Halai is going to upgrade dig twice and have shipping 1. Halai is going to be able to take the other gray. So there's really no more, like, there's no hope in hopping over to the green anymore.
I mean, I think it's really bad, to be honest. Halai has a lot of digs he wants to do here, partly for points. He partly wants to secure himself expansion in town, but I think he has a worker or 2. I think he's going to hit G1 and just turn it, like, red or something, just to make Dwarves' life even harder in terms of how many hops he's going to have available to him and how many hexes. Dwarves should have been able to win this network game pretty easily. He has so many gray hexes to build on. And I think it comes down to just building trading posts too early. There's so many coins in the game. You don't need this many coins. And there's just not enough workers for dwarves, like, ever. So we'll see. But yeah.
Depending on Halai's plan for his workers and how he's planning to score, he could blow up 5 gray hexes. Like, he could threaten the one in the north, the one in the lower left, and all 3 on the lower right, and just have, like, all the gray hexes vanish instantly this turn.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what Halai is going to do, for sure, but the fact that Halai has complete control over the Dwarves game at this point basically means I don't see how Dwarves place above Halai, because cultists have complete control over all of Dwarves' hexes, and Dwarves can't afford to generate that many spades this game. So, like, if Halai chooses to, I don't know what Dwarves are going to be able to achieve, but we'll see. Dwarves are up to 54 points, and he got back onto the trading post tile, so that's at least some really good synergy for him. Fakirs are up to 57, and they still have a lot of resources, and several jumps available at least.
Fakirs have also already passed. They weren't able to jump to the last yellow, so they did their big expansion and were limited on priests this turn. Next turn they have a ton of workers, ton of coins. They have more incoming from the Earth Cult, and they were the first to pass, so they could take more coins.
I mean, I think they're going to wind up digging and trying to get some more town space, but we'll see. It's a bit of an interesting game. Like, because there were so many coins, this is one of the rare cases where, like, I think you can actually almost get too many coins. Both Fakirs and Dwarves never have to upgrade shipping. They rarely upgrade digging. So both of those factions actually get by with a bit less coins than you'd think. And with how many coins are in the game, I don't know if you had to pursue them this heavily. And I think both of the factions maybe hurt themselves by pushing quite that hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I think though that Running Boar has read the situation you said quite correctly, and he's ended this round with all dwellings and temples on the board, and no trading posts. And, like, next turn he did get extra power from Mermaid upgrading next to him, so he will be able to go for that double spade, as you mentioned, and carve out his town space and build out towns in round build out towns next round.
Yeah. I agree that Roman Boar at least has built his economy how you often want to, almost always in Terra Mystica, which is worker heavy. We see both of the mermaids, the cultists, and the fakirs have all built their economies largely on a crap ton of workers in this coin-rich game. And dwarves are the one faction that said, I'm going to go even more coin crazy. And I think that is what's causing him a lot of pain here. But we'll see. Mermaids are setting up their 3 towns here still. That dig that he just did is going to be a sanctuary town. He still is eventually going to need a bridge for out in the west and another dig there. And then he still needs to dig the green as well to get a town space. But I think he will 3 towns still. So mermaids with 3 towns and pretty good network are, I don't know, they're probably competitive here. Halai has also not, like, Halai chose an interesting thing here. He took a blue hex away with a double dig. I get that it secures him connections, so that's probably why he did it, but I thought he was going to bomb the dwarves hex.
He still has 2 workers to do that.
I agree.
It's not too late. It also solidifies the town spot. I think there's danger that if he did not dig that, doors could, like, if he goes full on messing with dwarves could retaliate and take that blue for. So, like, there's really very little reason to do that, but it does mess up the cultist town a bit badly without having that hex.
Well, no, and we've said that Chris has a bit of a reputation for retaliatory play, so I think that's a good call. I also think Halai is probably reading the situation that he can just slightly mess with dwarves hexes, and because dwarves somewhat messed up their own economy, I don't really think he needs to hit dwarves that hard here.
He's also able to cut doors off connection at any point, because because Door still needs 2 hops to connect. So like Doors could hop one and he could cut off the other one. Although like if he wanted to mess with Doors, it's probably this turn, since this turn is where he's getting points for digging extra spot, like throwing away extra spades. At least there are 2 points apiece.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, cultists have secured their 3 town spaces as well, which looks quite good. Points-wise, Halai has a lot on the pass here too, and so he's going to kind of catch up to some of the others. He has a great economy going still. I think there's a decent chance that Halai is going to get to the 2 key town. And if the cultist gets the 2 key town and has pretty good network, has 3 towns, gotta like that. Halai does finally hit the dwarves' connection path slightly with 1 worker. Halai has otherwise just played for his own game this round, which I think is probably a really good play from Halai. I think his game is in a great spot himself. I think he just slightly slows down dwarves, and that's enough to already throw dwarves, too far away. So he also takes a blue hex away from mermaids long term, so mermaids network is just that little bit harder. I think Halai maybe is winning this game. I would
So
have
with all the
called.
towns,
Yeah, go ahead.
with all the towns incoming, do you think there will be any pressure on the town tiles? We see that Doors already took one fairly attractive one, the 2 worker town. And as you said, Mermaids has 3 more towns incoming. Fakirs probably have 2 towns. Cultists have 3 towns incoming, and Doors still have 1 more town incoming.
Yeah, that's a great
there's
point.
going to be a lot of fighting over the better towns.
Yeah, I actually think that's a strong point.
Especially
Fakirs...
since...
I must be lagging again, sorry. Go ahead.
Especially since Fakirs don't want the range town anymore. And Dwarves don't want the range town either. And I don't think Cultist and Mermaid want it without the shipping scoring in play. So there's not that many attractive towns left once you factor in that everyone's going to get 2 or 3 more towns.
Yeah, I think that's a really strong point, because Fakirs don't even probably want range towns this game. It looks like they're going to just play connect on 1 ship, or not 1 ship, but 1 range. And they don't really have many yellow hexes to get to, even if they got a range town. So I think you have a good point that there is a bit of a pressure to just score your towns a bit early here. I think cultists are going to wind up building a sanctuary for Fire 2 this round, and I think Halai is going to go for the 2 key town and quite possibly an 8-point town. Just take all those cult towns and try to get some good cult victory points. But he does. Halai actually went up a step on Earth though, so maybe he's just going for 8-point cult towns, which is probably a good call too. Maybe nobody really wants the 2 key town. I don't know.
Mermaids still could take the 2 key town. They could also take fire, and that will allow them to pass cultists in the fire track. I think that might be a very likely play for Gino here, since they'll probably need the 2 key town to get their 3 towns. And so Gino can immediately sanctuary, take 2 key town, and then enter the 10th spot on fire and water.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. We see Fakirs also taking Fire 2 here, so I guess Dwarves don't need Fire 2 this game, so there's probably not too much pressure on it.
The 2 key town by Mermaids would be pretty huge, because apart from passing cultists and fire is also the track that gives out workers for the last round. Although I guess I'm mistaken there, since Gino has upgraded shipping. I do think that the Sanctuary play would have been very strong there.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It could be that he's thinking that it does guarantee him the fire track, but the 2 extra steps isn't that valuable in other cults, since mermaids are not going to get anywhere on Earth, and yeah, on air they pass doors, that's 2 points. On water they get 3 more power, but they basically already have that track.
Yeah, I think that's all some really good analysis. So
Is it
I'm not
is it
I'm not
possible
sure.
for mermaids to build 3 towns without Fire 2, do you think?
I don't think so. I guess they would have to build their stronghold to do that. But it looks really messy. It's pretty hard to make 3 towns without Fire 2 if your towns are minimum hex. Like, if you're gonna make a 3 hex, a 4 hex, and a 4 hex town without Fire 2, you have to do a lot of build up to make that work. And I don't think mermaids want to do that much building up here.
Mermaids are also a bit behind in points, although they still have a ton of resources. They still really haven't taken their turn this turn yet. You see, Halai built his first town. It's the 6-coin town, which I hear that you dislike very very much.
I have a little bit too much of a well-known distaste for them. I think they're fine, but again, in a game that's like so coin rich, uh, I mean, it does look like Halai needs a few more coins, so it's probably fine. But I do think too many players use coin towns almost as crutches to make their game work. And I think people undervalue setting up their economy and just taking higher VP towns. Halai doesn't have Earth One. How is he going to make up enough points if he doesn't take high VP towns here? And admittedly, he still has a decent number of points. It's probably fine, but yeah, I think too many coin towns can often doom a game as well.
So Fakir's also put up their first town, and it is actually the range town. I'm not liking this a lot, actually. I feel like it really only opens up 1 more hex for them. I guess 3 more if they're planning to hop to the brown, D8, the brown on the farthest right. Yeah, maybe it could work. Now I see that they could hop to D8 and unlock 2 more yellows.
Yeah, so while that part's true, I think your analysis is still reasonably good. Again, what is Fakir's network actually going to be? Like, he has 2 more dwellings he could build now, and is he really going to be able to build enough trading posts and actually compete on network here, such that that range town is really going to pay off? Maybe, but I don't know.
Oh, and we are seeing the Tuki Town for Mermaids passing Halai on the track. This is sort of punishing Halai for not taking the Tuki Town when he could. I'm not sure if it's like an actual punish, and that maybe this turns out to be more points for Halai. But it was like a feint, because Mermaid could have done it the turn before, but chose upgrade shipping instead, and now they still go ahead and grab that fire track.
Yeah, this is some intense competition. This game is starting to look like quite a bit lower scoring than I thought it would be, but maybe they all have a lot more points coming than I thought. But there's a decent bit of fighting. Also, are dwarves being allowed to connect here?
They don't have the resources at this moment. They could pass, and then they could do next round if that red is still there. But otherwise, yeah, it could be that Halai wants to allow doors to connect, because their footprint is still pretty small even if they connect.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I mean, dwarves do have 2 priests, which is 2 workers, and single digs available. They made their stronghold. I think dwarves.
Oh, yes, I missed the stronghold. They could connect now if they wanted to.
I think Chris on the player cams was cheering a bit at a certain point. I'm assuming that's what it was for, but I don't know.
Yes, and it looks like Halai has allowed them to connect. Halai has passed. The first pass for the dwelling scoring bonus for round 6.
Yeah, Eddie locks in another coins action, which is good. Yeah, I think that pass is probably good, but he has a lot of stuff he wants to build if he's going to contest network. He wants to build all those trading posts and then 5 dwellings next round. But he has a lot of coins built up, so I guess he probably can do that. So I think Kalai probably gets a lot of dwelling points next round. He has pass points. He builds a bunch of trading posts that are points.
Yes, Halai does want to put up 3 more trading posts to form his 2 towns. 2 on the left, 1 on the right, and then that'll give him 5 dwellings on the board that he probably wants to all dump out. That's going to take him 11 workers. He has 12 workers. So he can barely make it. He will run out of brown hexes though, so I'm not sure what his plan is with that.
Well, he's digging cultists, right? I mean, is he actually going to run out?
Well, he's going to need 11 workers to build all his buildings, so that doesn't leave him with that many workers left to dig.
Oh, yeah, actually, never mind, you're right.
One possibility is cultists could dig to the right. They could take the blue under the door stronghold and then go up from there. That will save them a lot of digs, a lot of browns there. That will also mess with Fakir's plan if Fakir does plan to eventually fly to the rightmost yellow at bottom.
Yeah, that's a strong point. Yeah, so I mean, this is
it's
interesting.
Not clear if
Sorry, you can go ahead. I'm trying to fix whatever's lagging on my end, but
I think I like the cultist position the most here. I like Mermaid's position a bit too, but they are a bit behind on scoring. I'm not sure if they fully cashed up once you consider that they've already won 2 codes, but I think they are still a little behind just on score. And they are also left without a scoring tile for rounds. No, actually, they've just passed and claimed it. Never mind.
yeah, I agree. I don't like Mermaids with a pass tile. He doesn't have many points right now, and dwarves still do have a lot of points built up already. So despite me claiming that dwarves are going to get killed, I mean, he has a lot of jumps available to him, and Halai looks like he's going to let him get away with a lot of them. So maybe dwarves are going to eke out just enough stuff still, more so than I thought.
Dwarves does have a very strong network. Yes, I was underestimating their network count a bit earlier. If Halai does not disrupt him, he could put 4 more structures on the board. Could he put 5? No, he can't put 5 more. He could put 4 more structures on the board pretty easily and get to 15 structures. 3 more. Now he's already done his first tunneling.
Yeah, I mean,
I think Halai has to dig another gray at some point.
Probably,
And
but does he
I
have...
think it was probably better to kill doors earlier. It was probably better to just kill doors, put the nail in the coffin when it was a little easier to do so, and take away their connection hex and basically guarantee them last on connection. Whereas now taking away a hex is just taking away 4 points for tunneling.
Yeah,
and the 2 points for the dwelling.
I agree strongly. I especially given that while you're playing to win these games, second place still at least stays in the tournament. You have a chance to advance. If you just essentially take one of your fairly strong looking competitors out of the game, I'm still a bit surprised Halai didn't just put the nail in Dwarf's coffin by killing their connection. I think Halai might come to regret that the more I'm looking at it. I actually really don't know for sure who's winning this game. I thought Dwarves had made enough mistakes that it was going to kill him, but it looks like he's still going to eke out most of his network and get away with most of his hops or tunnels. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Bizzo did get away with a lot. So
Fakir's?
I think Ichino is doing some math and trying to decide where to put his 20 coins and 18 workers. He has a lot of points to make up, like even with the 2 cult wins, and he's behind. I think he's behind in map. He just took the single dig, which is not very economical, and I'm not sure if he's going to be able to get a lot more dwellings out.
Yeah, I'm quite surprised with a single dig. Usually when you have this many workers late, usually it's better to just hard dig, because hard digging is only 3 resources, while single dig is 4 resources. Um, Mermaids still have several natural blues, though, if they just get to ship 3, which they're pretty close to. So I think mermaids are still trying to play for network and make 2 more towns, but I agree.
That's
I
true.
think it's
So they could upgrade 2 more trading. They could upgrade 2 more trading posts that will get them their town to upper right. They're going to dig I2, that's the bottom black on the lower left. And then they'll leave them with 3 dwellings on the board, which is perfect because then they go. I think we lost Chris. We lost Ryan for a moment there. And they go upgrade ship and they build 3 more dwellings. So mermaid end with 14 structures. Doors are ending with 15 structures, so that's not quite enough. And I think Halai could get to. Halai probably ends with 14 structures too. So that will give. Hi, Ryan, are you back with us?
Yeah, I'm hoping maybe reconnected, fix this and flag. I don't know. Sorry, I don't know what's up. Things were all good for a while, and whatever. Anyhow, I agree with your analysis that it looks like dwarves might be winning network, which I think probably gives them the game. And so Halai probably does have to mess with a gray hex to try to force the 3-way tie on network at 14. But I don't know if he has the resources or not. So.
It's only 1 worker though to take away. Well, no, not necessarily because Chris can hard dig. Chris can hard dig to guarantee network. He still has like a ton of resources. Wait, can he? He needs 2 more. He needs to put out 2 more trading posts, 2 more dwellings. That's 6 workers. Okay, Chris cannot hard dig.
Yeah, there's no hard dig for dwarves, so I agree. Halai, I think, can use just a single worker to cost dwarves 1 network. So I'm assuming we're going to see that, but Halai's running out opportunities to do it. So.
What about Fakirs? Fakirs have a flight range of 2. They could put out. They could also end at 14. Can they? I think they have just barely enough resources. They need 7 workers. They need a hard dig, which they also don't have a dig. We're running out of digs for everyone here. Looks like Fakirs is going to end at 13 structures, which is pretty low for Fakirs and a little unfortunate that now that the network race is so tight in this game.
Yeah, I mean, this was one of the long-term fears for Fakirs, why we were concerned during bidding, was that it looked like they were just going to really suffer to reach enough hexes, and I mean, that's kind of what's happened. Cultist has taken a decent number of their yellows, and it's causing them network troubles against a lot of other factions that can play network well. I'm starting to think maybe Gino's decision to single dig was pretty good. I missed it, but it does look like a lot of these factions wanted single dig this round. Like both dwarves and fakirs kind of could use single dig to help guarantee their networks. So I think that move by Gino to single dig instead of hard dig might have been pretty savvy, actually.
That's a great point. It's actually like half a blocking move. Because it's going to be hard for dwarves or fakirs to get up to 6 power, which they still could, but it's going to be a little tougher for them to do that.
Fakirs taking a coin town in order to afford their last couple structures is probably correct, but a little bit sad.
So now they have another trading post, and they do want to put out 3 more dwellings if they could. So really, they just need a double dig. Like if Fakirs get double dig, they also go up to 14 structures. But I'm not seeing. Oh well, Mermaid will have to upgrade next to Fakirs to build their town. which they might move the delay for a while and put Fakirs in a tough spot. Not seeing anywhere else where people are going to give Fakirs power.
Yeah, I think Fakirs can wait for that power, though. They still have one flight they can do here for a dwelling, and then they still can build the trading post, so I'm not sure mermaids can wait that long and deny Fakir's power, but we'll see.
They've actually just gotten power. How did they do that? Oh, they use their cult bonus step to move up one step on Earth, and now they do have the double dig.
Ah, yes.
So yes, we are seeing Fakirs go up to 14 structures. We might see a 4-way tie here, but I'm not sure if cultists have enough resources to get all. I think they do, yeah. So I think we might see a 4-way tie here in network.
Possibly, but it looks like dwarves have enough to get to 15, and I don't know if cultists...
yes. Yes, because cultists left that gray. So, yes.
Yeah, it looks like dwarves are still going to win the game then. I mean, the dwarves get another trading post, another tunnel, and then they outright win network. That might be enough.
Mm-hmm. There is still one hope to block them by taking the worker power action away. That leaves them. Does that leave them with one? No, they only need one worker. They already have enough because of the stronghold. So they just need 2 more workers to build a trading post and 2 more workers to tunnel and build the final dwelling, which they have. They basically have everything they could ever want.
Yeah, and that brings them to 118 points. And then they. Oh wait, dwarves still have the spade too. Never mind, they couldn't be blocked like all this round, could they?
Yes, I missed that.
Yeah, so did I.
So I guess really the window to kill the dwarves turned out to be a lot smaller than it seemed, and this is huge. This is a 24-point swing for everyone involved, because dwarves would have gone from 18 to 0 in network points. And then if we still assume the 3-way tie, then everyone moves up 6 points. This is a huge swing.
Yeah, dwarves getting to outright win network is so big, and it really loops back to what if Halai did just cut dwarves network off this game? Like, that's starting to look like a huge decision of just choosing to single dig to slow down dwarves rather than just completely taking the hex away.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't. It was going to be 2 more workers to do what they but they Halai did dig the yellow on I7. So instead of like putting the spade there, he could have put that worker on the gray and then find another worker somewhere else and also put on the gray. And yeah, I'm regretting this move on Halai's behalf more and more as we look at it.
Yeah. This game is also looking a little bit like we kind of thought at the start, where I think dwarves did just get underbid, and I think cultists and mermaids maybe did just get overbid a bit. Both cultists and mermaids are looking a little tough here for me. I actually scored enough points to win. I'm not totally sure. They still have a ton of resources, admittedly, but I'm not sure.
They do also still have 1 town apiece, so there's that. Although the 11-point town is gone, I think the 2 priest town, one of the priest town is gone. The code town is still there, the 8-point town, but that doesn't do a whole lot for mermaids anymore.
Yeah, there's still some decent victory point towns around, so I think you're right that they both have a decent amount of points rolling in. They also are the 2 factions that have points pass tiles, so I mean they will both pass for points. So they probably are going to catch up more than it looks at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's pretty hard to calculate, but like the fact that for mermaids each dwelling turns into 4 points is a huge deal. Like they still have a couple of dwellings left, and 4 points is a ton. For Halai, he doesn't have Earth 1, so it's a little less. But it's like the points still do add up really quick, like with the dwelling scoring round. And it's like the points can look deceptively low right now, but they could easily catch up to dwarves.
Yeah, I mean, we're planning for each of them to build several trading posts, several dwellings, and that is just a lot of points because they both have water one. Gino has earth one. Dwarves did get the worker power action though, so I think that was actually pretty important for him to get since he does have the spade. He can get away now with he builds a trading post and then he can tunnel and spade a hex and not build on it, and then he can just tunnel and build. Because he has a free hex, I think he can safely get away with trying to eke out those extra 4 points. So we'll see if he goes for that.
Yes, it turns his extra priest into 4 points by giving him something to tunnel with that he doesn't have. He doesn't have to build anything.
Yeah.
So I think Fakir's is winding down. They have another trading post, another flight, and another another dwelling. Doors are also winding down. What we just said, the trading post, the dwelling, and the dig. And Halai is still sitting at 17 coins and 13 workers. Like, the world is his oyster.
Yeah, I keep trying to run the math for him too. I think he keeps trying to figure out if he can hit 14 network easily and if it's even worth it. Or I think he's still debating if he's supposed to just build his stronghold to make his town. I'm not totally sure.
I think
it looks like he does have a it looks like he has a pen or pencil that he's playing with right now while he's doing the calcs.
I think he has to hit 14 network. It's too big. When other people are tied at 14, this is like what, a 12-point swing? Is that? Yeah. 12-point swing against Fakirs and against Mermaids. 9-point swing against Chris. So I think that's going to dwarf everything. Like the stronghold itself is only 7 points, so he's got to go for the network.
Yeah, I agree. I think he does have to go for it.
And yeah, I think he has enough resources to do that. He still needs 4 more places to put dwellings, which means that he needs 2 more digs. He needs 2 more digs, which is 2 workers. He needs 2 trading posts, which is 2 plus 2, 4. So that's 6, and he needs 4 dwellings, so that's 10 workers. Yeah, like Halai has more than enough. Although, like, missing a lot to get to 15. So we're going to stop at 14 for the 3 of them.
Yes, agreed. And yeah, all that's true. I do, when you were pointing out Fakir's, and I'm just watching their endgame, I do have to admit that I always love when those endgames work out where you have exactly enough resources. He's going to wind up with nothing left over, so that's always fun.
1 power and bow 2 left over. So not quite perfect. Almost perfect.
Yeah. I mean, he might pick up another free power too yet this round for all I know, but yeah.
Have you played any games where you ended on like 0-0-1 in power and like 0-0-0 everything else? Probably takes like Alchemist to do that. It's going to be hard for anyone else.
Yeah. I'll admit, dwarves, I still thought all those trading posts were wrong, and I still think they kind of were wrong. I think if he just had even more workers, it maybe would have got even better, but he's going to hit 15 network off his path. He's not going to have that many extra coins. So he did build his economy in a good enough way that it didn't go that out of whack, and he is still going to get enough stuff done here, but I think the big risk of doing all those early trading posts was that he did still let cultists could have hit dwarves a lot harder, and I think it does look like they were supposed to. But
yes, I agree. For the 24-point swing, as it turned out, they could have killed like spending 2 workers to dig a hex to turn to brown and then get like 24 points is unparalleled. Like, you just can't do that anywhere else. Yeah, I agree. It's sort of like 2 different paths leading to the same outcome. Dwarves just ended up getting a good economy and getting all their great hexes. But one path led them more open to disruption because they had less workers and it just took them longer to secure the great hexes.
Yeah, I have no idea what Bizzle's antics there was, but he was doing something with the cam and showing some stuff, and I think he had a sign. I don't know. That guy's a character at times. Both Gino and Halai are just like super intently doing math, and Chris is over here just like giddily looking into the camera. So
So we see that one of Geno's blue just turned into green. Not sure who did that. Did the Fakirs do that? Oh, right, because the Fakirs had a double spade. So they had nowhere to put the extra spade, which means that they destroyed one of Mermaid's hexes. That's a lot of disruption from someone that usually plays very, very well with mermaids.
yeah, I agree. The amount of meddling Fakirs has done in terms of to what Mermaid's probably ideal game plan was certainly had a factor on this game.
Do we still have any coin? We don't have any coin toss left. I was wondering if Mermaids was ever close to getting to 15, but having to put on another tempo, trading post, no, yeah, it's too far away. So Mermaids is probably going to upgrade ship and build Hard Dig, build their last remaining dwelling.
Yeah, I mean, I think losing that hex completely kills any outside world where mermaids were gonna get to 15 network, because yeah, they just don't have
Mhm.
hexes left anymore either.
So everyone's pretty much wrapped up now, except for cultists, who I think it's pretty clear what they're doing too. They have like two more trading posts coming at the bottom, one more dwelling, and then they just have to find a way to put the remaining two dwellings on the board.
Yeah, I agree. Halai is gonna do that and hit another town. So I mean, and Halai's gonna pass. I mean, Halai's gonna get to about 110 after passing. But his cults are not great, and he's tying for network. So I mean, does can Halai make up the difference on dwarves? I think Halai's the best second here, although maybe I'm underestimating Fakir still.
It's close. It's very close. And since the closest third still also gets a chance in the second place game, given how close the scores seem to be, it looks like the closest third is going to emerge from the game we have right here.
Yeah, so I guess the question is, do we think Gino's taking fourth here?
I think Mermaids does have Mermaid's score is a lot lower than what I might have expected them to end up with. Like the little factors I point out at the start to add up. The fact that there's no shipping scoring, which is huge for Mermaids. Like if they were standing on that instead of the trading post out, they're going to get 15 points by passing instead of just 8. And then also the two coast steps in water leading to nothing. They do win water, but they're like far, far ahead on it.
I think so. I agree. I think the early analysis you/I had of mermaids, the cult track wasn't going to give them a ton of economy. The rounds weren't great. Mermaids aren't tend to be a faction that digs a ton. So it was just a kind of an awkward track for mermaids to score many points off of, and it wasn't great pass tiles. And then they got disrupted just a little. And yeah, I think the main mistake though is overbidding, but
Mm-hmm.
I think Gino is taking fourth, which I guess they'll loop back to he is just like Caster or the predictions. It's my fault. I predicted him first, he takes fourth. Every time Chris predicted him to take fourth, he got first. So
Didn't Chris fix your predictions afterwards and
yeah,
put Gino
well,
in fourth place?
that's true. Chris did post an alternative predictions, and I do think Gino was in fourth there. So who knows? Whatever. The predictions are obviously silly. We'll see how this game actually wraps up in a sec. But it still looks like a kind of close-ish game. But Dwarves at 122 and just outright winning network by hitting 15 structures. I mean, that's 140 plus a trickle of cults. I don't think anybody else is catching Dwarves. I think they still win this game, and I think a lot of it is well, it's a combination of I think dwarves were the best out of the auction, and that dwarves still had that insane start. I would have never predicted that they got Earth One and Double Dig, and got to pass on to the Spade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think one point about that is there is this extra utility or this extra thing about being the first player. So whatever faction is first, in this game we saw that Dwarves was the first faction to go, and that's really only the first faction is able to pick up stuff like this, where if one opponent decides to not go for Earth 1 and take the single dig instead, then it loops back to you first, and then you get to like reap the benefits of both getting double dig and Earth 1, and that's like always huge.
Yep, and you just have the tempo on the leech, and then you often have tempo on the right pass tiles. You sometimes have tempo on the power 2 or the round 2 power actions. And so I agree. I think people can undervalue the starting turn order in some of these games too. And I think that was another reason to prefer to play dwarves here by even just a couple of victory points. And instead, again, dwarves actually started 1 point ahead of both cultists and mermaids. So it's hard for me not to think that Gino and Halai partly lose this game just because they bid the wrong factions.
Well, I suppose we're not supposed to calculate out the final scores yet, but Halai still has a lot going on, and it's a little tempting to try to figure out if he can catch Bizzle's 140 something in score.
Yeah, I mean, we're allowed to do a little math, but yeah, I mean, it's hard. Halai's going to build a trading post and 2 dwellings. That takes him to 94. He gets a town is roughly 102. He passes is roughly 110. He advances ship one more time, 114-ish. That's still just, I think that's not enough.
It's too far away. I guess on the network, Bizzo is 18 against 3 of them at 6, so that's a 12 point. And yeah, the cultists did not claim enough coats in this game to make up the difference there.
Yeah.
What do you think of Halai's decision back then to not take the 2 key town? Do you think that really changed a lot? Looking at how the coats panned out in the end.
I mean, he has to give up 6 more points, but he gets 4 more for sure on fire, and then he has a chance to actually like fight for air points if he takes it. So, and he gets he has a bit more power if he does all that. I mean, I think he probably was supposed to still just take the 2 key town. I mean, it's quite good for many reasons.
There are no more priest towns, right? So what Halai could do is take the shipping town if he wants to pass Kotis on. The 1-step town is enough to let him pass Kotis on air. Not Kotis, Fakirs. So Kotis does secure the air track. That gives him 2 cold wins and 2 second places. That's actually a lot. Given how few steps cultists have taken overall in this game.
That's true. I mean, cultists still have a really strong cult game here, actually. It does make me question Fakir's sending this many priests to the cult tracks to just get second places. I mean, he got a lot of econ, and I guess he didn't run short of jumps, so maybe it was fine. But it definitely was an interesting couple of choices for Fakir's at points this game.
Yeah, it's kind of awkward, like being at 8th spot and being able to send a priest to air to lock it up, but every priest turned out to be 4 points on the flights. So, like preemptively securing the air track is like you can't do it, even though like you're just sitting there knowing that coaches are probably going to pass you afterwards.
Yep, and Halai does take the priest and presumably is about to just send it to air to win air, and then he'll pass. Maybe he is still competitive for the win here. I don't exactly know. I mean, he's going to be 8 points behind. Well, nah, Bizzle's network thing is still so huge. He'd have to make up 20 points on Bizzle on the cults. Is that possible for cultists?
12 points. 12 points, because he also has 6. But
no, he's 8. I was gonna say he's 8 behind Chris anyhow. So sorry, I already. Yeah, I think he's short, but Halai's gonna be close.
Yeah. Is Chris smiling in the player cam? I can't quite tell. I think he's pretty pleased with himself, though.
He seemed pretty pleased at quite a few points, but I'm wondering if he's all of a sudden having the same like, oh shit, is Cultist actually sneaking past me and doing the quick, oh, I think I'm okay, but we'll see.
And we've reached the end. There's nothing left for cultists left to do, except for some stylish digging with extra workers that don't do anything.
Yep. So now we just add them up. I'm expecting
We
it's
do see that
dwarves.
3.
Yeah, I'm expecting it's dwarves, cultists, fakirs, mermaids, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it breaks out.
Wow, so close. 4. Halai is 2 points behind. 3 points behind. I think Bizzo just finished the calculations and he's celebrating.
Yeah.
Right at the very end, it was like this close.
Yep, indeed. Oh wait, Gino is beating fakirs, it looks like.
Although it's by like the margin between Gino and Chris is a little is quite a bit larger than I first thought it would be. So I'm not sure if Gino secures the closest third place here. We'll have to go back to the calculations for that.
Yeah. But congrats to Chris. I'm sure we'll have a very fun winner interview here in just a sec. That was a heck of a game from a lot of these players. I mean, I still thought Chris made a few decisions that possibly could have cost him. It looks like Halai not killing Chris was a huge error because Halai winds up only 3 points behind dwarves, but just miles ahead of both mermaids and fakirs. So if Halai had chosen to just kill Chris's connection, I think Halai does win the game. So I think Chris is a bit lucky as well on that front. But sometimes it takes a little bit of luck along with good play. So.
Cultists really did make up a ton of points at the end. Like I think going into round 6, they were tied with mermaids, but they just had like a lot more coming, even without Earth 1.
Halai honestly played the coolest game here, probably going digging cultists, getting all those points, foregoing Earth 1 and just saying, yeah, I don't need that. I can just take single dig. A lot of us thought it was a bit questionable to take Earth 2, but Halai is such a strong player. It's really cool to watch him play this different game and still make it all work.
Yes, it also feels like pretty uncomfortable taking single spade knowing that you're giving Earth 1 to dwarves, because it's not just like you not getting it, it's like boosting one of your opponents by a lot since you're giving it back to them.
Yeah. So yeah, we're getting our winner here in just a second, and we'll talk up his game. I think both fakirs and mermaids kind of killed each other a little bit, and I think fakirs and mermaids meddled with each other a little. Maybe both were bid a little too much or too early. And then yeah, both cultists and dwarves had really strong games here, and dwarves just a little bit more. I do wonder still if like Halai just still bid cultist a little, like bidding cultist below dwarves still surprises me here, but it does look like he could have been able to win, but it's so hard to know.
He probably did plan out the digging cultist play from the start, like given how much he's willing to bid on it. And it turns out that the digging round did score him a ton of points. And he was like never short of coins during the whole game. At least like he appeared not to be short of coins the whole game.
There was a ton of coins in the game, so it made sense. I guess the one thing is though, cultists did still get that big break of Fakir's starting spot too. I think if Fakirs are in the center, that probably is a bit harder for cultists because they're forced to fight Fakirs in the north. So who knows? That was some wild stuff. And It looks like we have our winner interview ready here. Congratulations on your big win here.
Thank you. Super pumped about it. Oh, I'm so pumped. Oh.
Congratulations. We were pretty down on you once you put out the 3 trading posts in round 3. Or like predicting that you just killed your worker production and you were going down with it.
Oh, I was 100% down on me too then.
I'm glad we're in agreement with that.
So the thought was that I was running out of time and I couldn't decide between tunneling and I had to decide between tunneling and building and sending a priest to fire, right? Those were my sending a priest to fire and doing a trading post, right? And I was running out of time and I said, "Oh crap! Send a priest to fire. We're done." And then I don't have the income on, so I was like, my worker income's plenty fine. I got plenty of stuff. And then I said, oh, I have 3 workers. And then when I got double dig, because I for sure thought I was giving Halai double dig, right? And then when he took coins, I was like, am I getting the double dig? That double dig saved my game.
Well, technically, I think we're talking about how you could have been killed in round 4 if Halai took out your gray and denied you connection.
Oh, 100%.
The 24-point swing.
Yeah, at any point it was touch and go as far as connection goes. I think he valued the pass tile a little too much, right? He would have still gotten it because I think maybe I would have done something different, but yeah, like it like when I got connection or when I got that red hex that was formerly gray, I was elated. So
yeah, you secured connection, I think, is obviously key to your win. And I thought Halai was going to hit your grays a lot harder during the dig round. Did you realize he was going to advance digging and fight all your hexes, or?
I realized it when he took coins. I said, oh, he's advancing digging. He has 3 priests and a ton of resources. This isn't good. And I figured, I figured all my grays were gone. But at the end of the day, right, they could have been, but I don't think he could have afforded to, right? Like,
I think he did need to largely set up his digs in order to set up his own game. But I think the one thing that I would have done differently is I think I would have completely blocked your connection. I think
100%.
I just build on one of your grays that connects you, and that's enough to just knock you out of the game.
Yeah, the problem is that he had the pass tile for dwellings before the dwelling round. So, and he didn't have Earth 1, so he's like, okay, I got to build dwellings, but I also don't want to build dwellings, but I also need to dig. No, that was before the stronghold run. Never mind, ignore that. But yeah, like it was weird. Like once I got connection, I even told my brother, I said, yeah, I've won. I'm out.
It was still really close to the end, though. You just won by 2 points, was it?
Oh, it was very, very close. But at the very least, I knew I was advancing on, right? That's kind of when I was like, okay, I'm advancing on at least. I'm not dying here. So
yeah, for sure. Your buddy Gino had a bit of a rough game here at the end. Do you have any words for him?
I'm sorry. I think you still get to play in the next game. So yay. I'm like, see, this is the thing. When I'm doing production stuff, I am 100% focused on like everybody's game and kind of like adjusting and seeing what they're doing. This game, I was like 10% focused on production stuff. I would like, you saw I left my chair and then came back and then left my chair and came back every once in a while, right? But like, so I didn't pay attention to anybody's game at all. I was like, I paid attention to Halai's game because he was right next to me, but mermaids weren't touching me at all. And there was no race for water too, which I thought was weird, but worked out for me. And then like Fakir threatened the red hex. What number is it? In the east. For a long time, because I figured that's where they were trying to get to, but they just never took it. So yeah, it worked. It worked out.
Yeah.
Very strong words of consolation for your buddy Gino here.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, see here. Okay, so let's have a real moment here. At the end of the day, right? Like, Gino and I, like, will trash talk each other for a while, but like, I think we're legitimately friends. So it's at the end of the day, it's a very friendly rivalry where we'll play it up for camera. But I want him to play still, right? I'm happy that I don't have to play both him and Halai. At least one of those two next round. So that's nice. But yes, so it was weird. It was weird playing with like people who you're actually friends with. But and then I guess winning's cool too.
Yeah, big congrats. The one other thing I thought was really interesting is the bids. I wasn't sure mermaids and cultists were. I was a bit surprised that dwarves just weren't the most bid on. But I guess, do you have thoughts on that after the game, or you think the bids were about right?
Okay, so I have thoughts on the bid, and I have thoughts on the post bid too. So the bid, I said to myself, I was like, why would you ever like touch? And not why would you ever touch cultists, but I was like, cultists are just fool's gold here, right? Because they may win some connections, but they're probably going to get blocked by at least mermaids and maybe dwarves on like a cult or two, which ended up happening. But so that, and I thought that that Fakirs were gonna start center, right? And I was like, cultists don't get a town, so like, what's the point? I do understand the bid on mermaids a little bit. Like, I thought they were gonna get at least, they were gonna get at least one dig, but I thought they were gonna get 3 digs in round 1, but that didn't end up happening. So, but yeah, when Fakirs went on the other yellow in the center, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, this is ridiculous. We'll just hand Halai the game and it's fine. All right.
So, I mean, it benefits you a decent bit, though, because that southern red lets you get to all those grays to jump too late, which was key to your 15 network. So I think Fakir's handed you and Cultist quite a bit, and then really disrupted mermaids surprising amount this game. So that was a big shift in the game. I agree.
When he double dug that black in the west, it was really, really weird. Like, I was like, I get it, but like, that's just not where you need to be, right? Like, you want that leech and you kind of want that neighbor, so like, it's fine, but like, ugh. And then the other thing was, yes, that was important. What I thought was like the key to victory is a strong word, but like what I thought Halai let me have that he maybe shouldn't have let me have was that red hex, right? Like, he like keeled over on that red hex when he single dug. He dug that black, which he needed to, right? But like, that let me have that red for free.
You need the connection hex, right?
Yeah.
The connection hex that's leading to the 24-point swing.
Oh, no, not that one. Not that one. No, that one was important too. It was the one in the center. Like, and round 1, when I was able to dig with the cult spade, I was able to dig that gray, right? Like that, like, I think he should have fought over that a little more. But like, then again, we just fight over it, and it's just lower both of our points. I don't know. Regardless, that was that. I am exhausted.
I was just saying, ultimately, congratulations on the win, and congrats on making yourself more work for having to do weird production and playing again. So.
Oh yeah. My brother said that if I won, he'd buy me a pizza, so now I get a pizza. So that's super cool.
That's good. But he also gets more work.
He also gets more work. He has to buy me food and also has to do more work. I don't know how this worked out, but it's really good. It's really good for me. All right. Anyways, thanks guys. Sorry, I'm talking like I'm a host now.
I assume you're usually the guy yelling in the other's ears to wrap it up. So if this is you telling us to wrap it up, congrats on the win, and yeah, I look forward to the second chance games and then seeing you in the final or the Ice Division finals.
I am too. All right. Anyways, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for casting, and have a wonderful time, guys.